Hello there, it's Josh here from Racing to Profit. As always, I hope you can see me in the bottom right hand corner of this screen. Uh, I was told actually that some of my videos I seem to waffle and go on a bit. I couldn't believe it, I was shocked, I tell you. Probably true actually, and probably a fair criticism. So I will try with my stopwatch on again in front of me to jump to it and be as concise as I can be and rattle through everything I want to do. I thought it might be useful, having received a handful of emails asking me various different things, if I recorded a sort of your questions answered type video, which I hope does just that really, and answers some of the questions you may have. I'm posting this, you might be watching this in a blog post over on the blog, and of course you're free to post any comments or questions that you have below it, and I will do my best to answer them. So what I plan to do is rattle through these questions you can see in front of you. What does the members club look like inside? How is the content delivered? What should I follow when first joining? What are my options? The results, win strike rates, losing runs, betting banks. It all looks far too complicated. It's not in my eyes, but hopefully I will try and bring it to life a bit. I don't want to follow any strategies. Is it still worth it? I'll kind of go through some of the other stuff. Do I have the right attributes? And there's a few questions there that might get you thinking. And if you answer yes to any of them, hopefully so. A kind of little bit there on kind of why you shouldn't join, depending on the attitude you may have. Is there any risk? No, in short. Well, I'll touch on that. And Josh, I don't believe you. It's all made up. Which is not, of course, but there are some thoughts of some real members which you may have seen already, but we can flick through those. So, what does the members club look like inside? How is the content delivered? Well, the first thing I'm going to say is this is the homepage, which if you go to racingtoprofit.co.uk, that is what you will see. Excuse me while I have a quick drink there. The thing I'm going to do first actually is, if you click on become a member, or if you click on the link below the main page, the kind of main launch page, that takes you to this page, becoming a member, and it's pretty simple. First name, last name. I mean, you don't even have to use your real name if you don't wish. An actual email address, so that you can receive the welcome email automatically. You can choose a username, choose a password, confirm your password, then click next, and that will take you through to the ClickBank order form. And yeah, you can process the payment through there and then be redirected to the blog. But at that point, once the payment's made, you'll be able to access with your username and password, which you can do as I skip back to the home page to the right hand side here, which hopefully you can see, the members club login box there, and if you put in your details and log in there, that will take you to this screen. Well, actually no, I think initially it takes you to this, the kind of exclusive reports one. That's just where all the members posts are filed, and you can see there with the date, and they just keep going in there. There's a my account box to the right, renewing subscription, editing profile, do whatever you want. Of course, if there's ever any problems or questions or forgetting passwords, there's a forgetting password function, or any time you can of course email me or get in touch and I can sort it for you my end. You can just click the home button in the top left hand corner, and that brings up all the posts. I mean, there's only three types generally. There's the kind of free daily posts, any featured post, the little black book number 4 from Adam Norman, that's always worth a read, and there's a fortnightly article, and of course your members post, which you can see there. So that's the kind of initial screen, and then we're going to dive in, and I'm recording this on the 6th of December, so we're going to dive into today's, which you can see in front of you. And this is where I suppose some people go, oh my goodness me, what's going on here? What are all these numbers and letters and codes and everything else? It is simple. Each members post is split into 4 sections, which you can see there. I'm going to focus on section 1 for now, which are all qualifiers against the Trainer Track Profile Stats Pack. This is what many of you have downloaded for free, and what we go on to here, this is section 1, which you can see here. all qualifiers against TTP stats. So every horse listed in section 1 had to qualify against some of the stats within the stats pack that I've researched, and the code and the little bit of writing that follows in the bracket here, that just describes what stat they hit from my Trainer Track Profile stats pack. Now the qualifiers against that stats pack during the jump, summer jumps, the flat season are the foundation and the starting point for any of the strategies that follow. The horse has to be listed in this section for it to be a strategy qualifier at some point. And then we go on to what are the actual strategy qualifiers. Now, I'm going to keep this simple to start with. You'll have known I've done a lot of discussion about the 4 main jump strategies, the kind of places where you can start, and I'll go on to those in a minute in terms of win strike rate, losing runs, betting banks, etc. But in its most simplest form, I update the blog post twice. Once initially about, well, by 6 p.m. the evening before, which is when you get all the qualifiers listed against my stats pack, plus all these little codes and numbers and letters, these kind of green, purple, brown and green things, which I'll explain in a minute. And then the next morning around 8 a.m. and 8:15, I add the prices and I add these black strategy symbols. And if you're following or would like to start with any one of the 4 or all 4 of the main jump strategies, which I'll get on to explaining in a moment, in terms of their results, you are looking for 4 things. You can look for a W1, which simply indicates the horse and the qualifier won last time out, and that's one of the ones which has been ticking along in live play fine since earlier in 2018, kind of late January, early February. You can, and then, so that W1 is posted the evening before with the initial batch of information. And then in the morning, you can simply look for 3 other symbols. And the other strategy is an S1, which you can see there. So Wizard's Bridge is an S1 qualifier. You can look for an S3A hash, which is there. And you can look for an S2A, I should say, which in this example, there are not any of those. There are no S2A qualifiers. They simply look at horses which on morning odds qualifiers in section 1 if their general available morning odds are 16 to 1 or bigger. So if one of these 2 here was 16 to 1 or bigger, that would read S2A. So that's all you're looking for. 4 symbols, W1, S1, S2A, or S3A hash. The other ones are strategies that are being tracked or kind of ongoing, but the 4 I've selected and have been doing well in live play, some of them since the start of 2017, some of them since the start of this year, are the 4 places where I would start and have most confidence in moving forward. So initially, that's all you need if you want to follow any of those 4 strategies. I'll get onto some of the other stuff in a moment. I'm realizing I'm flying through time already. 8 minutes is down. So if I go on to the advised strategies, well, there your questions answered a bit. I just want to touch on the results, win, strike rate, losing runs and betting bags. Now over to this document here, the section 1 jump strategies, where to begin. I've put a link up to this below the video so you can read it in more depth. It touches on those 4 strategies I've just discussed. Strategy 1, you get the rules there. So the starting rule for any of these is a jump stats pack qualifier listed in section 1. And then we get on to some of the other rules and other bits and pieces about what makes them qualify or not. The other interesting or important thing, I suppose, with strategy 1, and I suppose this is when some people think, oh God, it's getting complicated. It's not, I don't think, when you break it down. The horse qualifies if priced 10 to 1 or bigger on morning prices. I enter around 10 a.m. So you can see here with Wizard's Bridge, he's 14 to 1. He's got a red G1 or G3, so therefore he becomes an S1. If he was under 10 to 1 on morning prices, he only qualifies if sent off 11.00, so 10 to 1 or bigger at Betfair SP. This covers any of those that drift, and I'm not going to dwell on this too long, but you can set that price at any time you want, including the evening before if that's when you look. If we go to Betfair here, Wizard's Bridge, you can click on starting price here, so get the starting prices up, click on him there. set minimum odds. If he was below on morning prices, you would set to 11, place your stake in there, and the bet will only be placed if Wizards Bridge is sent off 11 or bigger Betfair starting price. That's the kind of twin angle with Jump Strategy 1, but this is a big odds strategy and it's not for everyone. And it's the only one, well, yeah, sorry, what I was going to say next is the win strike rate. You'll see there the results. It is a big odds strategy. It operates at around a 10% win strike rate, and I'll get onto what that means in a moment. But you can see the bets there. But yeah, historically, it's around the 10%. This year, there's been quite a few. Well, there's been 24 horses that have come second or third. So with a bit more luck, that Betfair SP profit might be a bit nearer to last year. But that one's about a high return on investment. It is high risk. It's certainly worth following in terms of profit. But it does mean some losing runs, which I'll get onto in a moment. Strategy S2A, that looks at any Jump Stats Pack qualifier list in section 1. Horses priced 16 to 21, 25 to 1, sorry, on the morning of racing when I add the generally available price. That's what I use to kind of keep consistency with results and everything else. Again, like I said there, with any price-based strategy, you are free to bet at a time of your choosing. If that means the evening before, you just need to get your head around what the actual rules are before the strategies. Or, like I said, you just wait until 8:15 in the morning and look for those various symbols as previously touched on. There's only 4 to look for, easy as that. Again, you can see the results here. This historically, well, it's dipped below kind of 10%, but it's historically been a bit higher than its current around 5%. Of course, that can mean some very long losing runs, and I'll get onto a table in a minute which shows you win percentage versus expecting losing runs every 1,000 bets. That's at the bottom of this report. Each way is probably the way to go if you want to follow this one, because of course it means you're backing, well, you're getting a return more often, certainly on the place side. And 1 point each way has been kind of 70%, sorry, plus 70 points so far, which is decent enough. Then we move on to the other two, which are kind of, they find more winners, they have a higher win strike rate. Strategy S3A, you can see the rules there. 2018 is the end of November. That's operating at around, what, about 30% win strike rate, which is pretty good going. And last time out winners there, simply, that's probably the simplest strategy of the lot, in that it's a Jump Stats Pack qualifier list in section 1. Horse won its last start, indicated by W1. You can see there that's been ticking along well. Like I put the note there, it did add around 20 points in the first 3 days of December, so that profit pile looks even better. And again, that's clipping along around the 30% return on investment, and I would bite your hand off now for it to repeat that. Clearly you can play them in different ways, and you can take your time to read this document below. I know longer losing run strategies are not for everyone, but you can read through that. It might be a case of just following both of these ones in front of you here, S3A hash or W1, or just picking one of them if you want to ease your way in. I will just touch on what winning strike rates mean. I mean, this is maths, so it's one of those factual things that sadly can't be disputed. This is the win strike rate for any approach you take and the maximum likely losing run per 1,000 bets. So at some point, it's a rough guide for that is the likely maximum losing run at some point. You can see there, if you've got a 10% win strike rate, as with strategy 1, you will hit a 66 losing run at some point. And now that isn't for everyone. That is very much a case of starting small. You will see with S3A hash that had around a 30% win strike rate, and W1 around kind of 26%. So 25 to 30% win strike rates. You're going to hit losing runs between 19 and 24 every now and then. Now, some would say working out what your betting bank should be very much then depends on the amount of risk that you want to take. Some would say multiply that maximum losing run by 2 or 3. So if we're focusing on S3A hash and W1, combined, that could be a losing run of 25, 35, 45 or so, 45 to 50. You might want to double that. So for those two strategies, a starting bank, for example, of 100 points might suffice, and is on the kind of cautious side. And so at £2.50 bets, that means you need a starting bank of 250 quid that you're prepared to lose, starting at £5 bets, obviously £500 you're prepared to lose. And it is only by betting an amount of money to begin with that you're able to lose, that you can stick through those losing runs, which will happen. It's then about, of course, having faith in the strategy. But again, you might want to paper trade and use the 60 days you have to see for yourself. So there are 4 examples of what you can do and what you can follow. I'm aware that I'm ticking through at 15 minutes now, but I hope you're finding this information useful. So yeah, that's the 4 main strategies. I should touch on the big race tips, which I've kind of put a link to a spreadsheet below. That's up there to the end of September. There's only been about 6 bets since then. I think they've all lost. But again, like all of my big race tips, as is the case with the free post, as is the case with, and has been in 2018 so far, I operate at around a 10% win strike rate with those. I am very much about hunting out kind of big winners. Of course, that does mean a bumpy ride at times. You can see how bumpy that could potentially be. As yet, I haven't hit a losing run quite at that level, touch wood, but you never know. Again, their reasons, well, I kind of are focused on profit and have a lot of confidence in myself with my big race analysis long term. And with every tip, I back with my own money, which is always important. That is partly the purpose for you, as well as to try and grow my own betting bank and profit, of course. I don't want to go into too much about that kind of, oh, it's complicated thing. Yes, it all looks far too complicated. Well, like I said, it's a case of yes and no. I actually believe that horse racing is a complex sport. I believe it's certainly with trainer angles and approaches like that. You're getting into dangerous territory if you try and make it too simple. The game is complex. It's not easy to do well. Only 1 to 3% of people who bet on horses win money. It's like that for a reason. And I'm not going to apologise for what some may see as overcomplicated and what all these numbers and codes mean. Once you take the time to get to grips with what they are, it really is quite simple. And if I just explain what some of these are, in each daily members post you get a key, and that explains everything. Now the red symbols are rating sets and ratings pointers. I use 3 rating sets with the permission I'll add of the 3 people behind them. Horse race based, top rated and top 3 rated. GG's Gold Speed, which is from a Dr. Peter May that they licensed from him, top rated and top 3 rated. And Inform Speed Ratings, top rated and top 3 rated. I use those, and some will see that's adding complexity, but I use that to give us more information and more confidence alongside my trainer stats qualifiers. So the horses listed in section 1 here qualify against my trainer stats. They are nothing to do with the horse. They're all about trainer behavior. And of course, I'm relying on myself to do, well, make sure the research is logical, etc., and keep it up to date, which is why I research it in depth again every year, etc. But by adding these ratings pointers, I do all the hard work. I go through every horse list in this section and I see if they're top rated or second or third rated, so top 3 rated, in those 3 rating sets I've mentioned. So you get that added information you can see here. That is simply giving us more information about the actual horse, the ability of the horse in the context of the race. So that's that. That's as simple as I can explain it, and hopefully that makes sense. You get the W1 and W2s. Actually, the W, they're kind of more under test than W1 in terms of those that won last time out. You get the ES Plus, so that's the Elite Squad Plus, and that simply indicates any horse which is from the Elite Squad Plus, which is explained in the Trainer Track Profiles report. That is simply any stat from my research that has at least 10 winners and a winning strike rate or 25% or higher. That's what that is. And that is simply trying to focus in on the best of my trainer stats. That's the simple idea there. And arguably, just from the trainer research, those trainers that have done best, 10 winners, 25% or win a higher strike rate, and that we might have more confidence in repeating going forward. So that's that. Now, using that information, I should explain the green. That is a GG symbols for trainer form indicators, which are explained there. They don't form any part of any strategy, but they're just more information added information. I am tracking them to see how well they do, because you've always got to be looking forward and trying to think of new ideas that we can test in live play and that might come on stream later in 2019, say. But that's just information which you can ignore, or if you like using my content as starting points, you might want to use that information to help in your own analysis. That's all it is, not overly complicated. So with all of that information, the horse has qualified against my stats pack. These symbols, the brown W1, the purple ES, and then any of the red symbols, which are the rating sets, that information plus price equals any of the strategies. It's that simple. It's all of that information lead to the different strategies which I've explained. Now, for consistency, I post, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at notes to my left to make sure I'm covering everything. I post the prices, the generally available prices on the morning of racing, and so that I'm consistent with results. And also, I should answer, some people go, oh, do you fiddle the results, blah, 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 blah. I take a generally available morning price. I don't pick out best prices. I think I'm the fairest I can be in terms of recording price. I've never had a complaint as yet since the Members Club started in 2016 about the prices I record, and I will always knock down prices if they disappeared or generally weren't actually available, and I welcome feedback on such things, but I do make sure I keep an eye on those things. Of course, like I said, the simple approach is to log in at 8:30, about around 8:15 a.m. in the morning during the week, and look for the symbols you need to look for depending on the strategies you want to follow. That's simple. Of course, to take up to a level of complexity, if you wish, you simply work out using the advised strategies here, looking at what the actual rules are, because the evening before you have all the information required. If you use your own price guide using Oddschecker or something, you have all the information required to work out whether a horse qualifies or not. W1 isn't price related, so any horse that has a W1 next to bet, if you're following that. Any horse that has an ES plus and 2 or more red symbols, they are the rules for strategy S3A hash, the elite squad plus 2 or more ratings pointers. So we're combining the best of my trainer research with some ratings pointers, what I call my fusion. That's one of those qualifiers, and you've got all that information the evening before. I know I'm probably I'm making it sound more complicated than it is, but hopefully you're still with me, and hopefully that all makes sense. But yes, I should probably stop droning on about those things there. So yes, the 2 big odds strategies are recorded and do best to Betfair starting price. There's no kind of debate about those odds. And the other 2 I recorded generally available morning prices. I suspect if you backed those 2 strategies the evening before, you might do fairly well because they might be bigger odds, but they do very well to generally available morning prices that have been up since since this post was posted at 6 p.m. the evening before. I'm taking a price 14 hours after that content was first posted. So I like to think that's fair. I do record the best odds guaranteed for those. Maybe in the future, for fairness, I probably need to look at not doing so. I get the arguments. I think there are pros and cons, but there are plenty of best odds guaranteed bookmakers now, and hopefully you still have a few of those accounts left, but I know some of you might not. But again, you've got 60 days to trial and test and paper trade and see if you can make my content work for you. So that's the basis, that's the core. The next section, you kind of get my big race festival tips. They're mainly at weekends. That's simple enough. If you want to follow those, you just look mainly at weekends and during the main spring festival to see if I've actually tipped anything. All the tips and everything are in section 2. I always like to be looking ahead and testing myself and developing my own skills. I'm very confident when it comes to big races and big success over time. I've been a bit naff, for want of a better word, on daily tipping, and some of my members have kind of blown it out of the park in the last year and a half in terms of their daily tips, and they're much better than me on that front, actually, if I'm being brutally honest. But it's one big community and one big happy family, but that kind of success drives me forward to try and improve. The start of November, I started doing a kind of test just looking at every stats qualifier on the page in my own members club, section 1 and section 3, and picking out horses which I think look best at the odds and offer a shade of value. That's ticking along okay. If I can keep a 50% win strike rate there, I'm pretty hopeful that profit pile will keep ticking. I wouldn't mind if I could get it up to a kind of 25% return on investment over time, but we shall see. So that's section 2. Section 3 is a micro system test zone. Now, initially, in order to not be overwhelmed and think, God, what the hell's going on here? Just ignore that. Just ignore section 3. If you have no interest in using my stats and pointers as your own way in to do your own research, and just ignore it. It's a test zone for a reason. It includes a lot of my unique angles and unique analysis. You have access to all of the research behind them. It has, my unique, basically non-track research, and I'm tracking different angles. Some of these have been in existence over a year, some have been kind of 6 months. I need to do a monthly results update. Actually, there's some that are working well as systems, some as not, but as a starting point, they do find a lot of winners. So as a way in, it's useful, but like I said, initially you might just want to ignore all of that. Then section 4 is any general messages or updates. I like to chat, I like to provide various different things. You can see there I actually simplified the advised strategies results document to try and make it as simple as I can. You've got that to read below if you so wish. There's some, there's a message there for new members pretty much explaining what's in this video, the importance of refreshing the blog every now and then so you can see new comments or anything I add new in the morning. Strategy results review, that was something from the other day. And Saturday big race trends on Wednesday, I started to pull together trends for the Beecher Chase, and today I finished off, yesterday and posted today the Grand Sefton, the London National, any pointers, notes, stats or trends, because that's something I like to offer members. You can see the 2 handicap hurdles there from Sandown I need to look at, and I'll post those as well in time. Now that's the bit, I suppose, where it goes to, oh, it all looks far too complicated. For the love of, whatever, I really hope that the 4 strategies, I've done my best and done them justice in trying to explain them. Like I said, there's the advised strategies link, click that below, read through it. It really is simple in my mind once you get your head around the different components and what you're looking for. I won't apologise for, that is as simple as I can make it. I'm not going to apologise for what it is. Some of them combine my unique fusion approach with my stats qualifiers and my rating set, and the ratings pointers top rated and top 3. And that's what makes it unique. That's what makes actually my confidence in strategy 1, because it uses a rating set based on the actual horse, as does strategy S3A hash. I have the utmost confidence in them, I suppose, if you were to ask me which 2 to follow, simply because I like that fusion, and those rating sets are a constant. And because they're a constant, their methodology is the same. It's worked in practice and live play for the number of bets and the time you can see it has. So I've got every confidence that, combined with my unique trainer stats research, they will keep repeating over time, touch wood. But yes, I'm not going to apologise for how we've developed the content, and especially the section 1 content today. So as the simplest you can make it is following those 4 strategies, or picking 1, 2, 3 or 4 of them to follow. You can then make it as complicated as you want to. Some of you watching this will get a lot of satisfaction from picking your own bets, using information to land on your own bets and throughout the day. So you've got all this information you can use, all of the qualifiers against the stats pack here in section 1, all of my little ratings and pointers and notes, which the key explains here below, and that I've gone through already and probably talked about them for too long, and the section 3 stats and qualifiers here. You can use those as starting points, and then finally any big race trends or stats or any other reports that I do for big festivals. All of that's about information and giving you choice, either to ignore it if you so wish, or to take the time to use it to develop your own skills, to become a better punter over time, which is the aim of all of us, and to use that information to find your own bets and get ultimate satisfaction that way. So that's it. It's not that complicated in my mind. You've got the 4 systems, 4 strategies, and or my big race tips, which you can find in section 2, mainly at weekends. Then there's the information, the stats and trends to use or ignore as you wish, including section 3, to help picking your own bets. And the final thing I'll mention is the community. There's 18 comments you can see here from various different members, myself clicking in or chipping in where there's been a question, etc. I need to reply to Harry, actually, he's asking me a question. And you can take your time if you want to complicate further. You can ignore the comments, you can dive into comments, you can take your time to work out who you may wish to follow or who you may not. Nick Mazur, I'll focus on him for a moment. He's been a member since day dot. He's been posting his tips for over a year now. His tips to 1 point each way as of the end of November were plus 496 points profit to £10 a point. Well, yes, nearly 5 grand's worth of profit from Nick this year, and myself and many of my members have been following him. He was due a bit of a wobble and a bit of a losing run, which he's had in the last kind of 2 weeks or so, but he will bounce back to glory in no time at all. Who else should I mention? Well, Nick's been posting the longest with tips, as has Colin under his Colin Bets banner. He's been posting for over a year and a half now as well. As of 2018, I think at the end of November, they were around 100 points up to starting price. So those two have been posting the longest, but everyone chips in. Chubnut, who hasn't posted a day, has his own strategy and approach, which is quite narrow and focused, and that's been doing well. Others will chip in. Kev's running his own all-weather test and putting up his all-weather bets. Martin's chipping in. Stuart's been tipping. Stuart tipped sizing Tennessee, the bugger, last Saturday. I didn't, sadly. He knows the time of day when it comes to jumps, and especially at weekends, puts up some very good write-ups. So I could go on and on. Mike is following my losing tips, of which there's quite a few every now and then. They've generally done well on their first run, but I won't overcomplicate and go into that now. And then there's questions and chat. So again, that's down to, if you want to complicate, you can do. But that is completely up to you. So that's that. I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to there. We're on to the kind of, do you have the right attributes bit? It's up to you. If you're still with me after 32 minutes, then thank you. Hopefully you found it of some use. If you enjoy horse racing as a sport, cheering home winners, if you enjoy winning money to reasonable stakes long term, if you're patient and disciplined, if you're aware that you can't cut corners in horse racing and be successful, you can't. The content is as kind of reduced and simple, especially section 1, as I can make it. And for me, how I do things, hopefully, touch wood, leads to long-term success. Do you like the idea of improving your knowledge over time and picking your own winners? Some of you might relish trying to become a better punter in time. We can always all improve. I don't think you ever have this game mastered, and picking your own bets. Do you like the idea of sharing in success with others? I've touched on the community bit, all helping each other enjoy the sport more, win more money. If you've answered yes to any of those, and if you're hopefully dived into little bits of the members club so far through the video I'm just recording now, hopefully your answer to that may be yes. If, however, you're after a quick fix, if you won't bother to take the time at all to immerse yourself in anything that I've discussed, or any of the approach, any of the kind of guidance documents, etc., even the basic 4 main strategies, then don't bother, as it will be a waste of all of our time. Winning money in this game isn't easy, but it is possible, as my members club has demonstrated for at least a couple of years now. Is there any risk? Well, no. You've got a 60-day money back guarantee. You can paper trade that, for that time if you wish. If it's not for you, you can get your money back in that time. Just please take the time. If you're going to join and then leave within half a day or a day, especially having watched this video, and hopefully you've got a clear idea about what it's about, then really don't bother. But you've got a full 60 days in which to prod and test and paper trade if you want, and risk no money. And like I said there, hopefully you can join the 370 odd long-term members who've enjoyed the journey so far. There's about 88 of you who've joined this winter season ticket to date, so thank you very much. Hopefully you're enjoying it. But like I said, you've got a full 60 days to see if that's the case. Can you sign up for shorter? No, not yet. I have done with before kind of quarterly memberships and 6 monthly ones. I might in the new year, but it won't be before the end of January, I don't think, look at introducing kind of quarterly or maybe monthly. They will work out more expensive than the winter season ticket is, because those who commit for a longer time, I do like to make the price cheaper than other options. But we can look forward to that in the new year if that's something you might be interested in. And finally, Josh, I don't believe you, it's all made up. Well, here's what some real members say. James M. Well, I mean, you can read through those in your own time, I suppose. Not only do you get the thorough daily insights from Josh himself, but the contributors to the blog are worth their weight in gold. Of course, it's not some magical fairy tale land where each horse mentioned wins, etc., etc. You can flick through those and read those below in your own time. But hopefully, the views of some real members might encourage you and give you confidence to give it a go, which you can do by clicking the Join Now button below. In an ideal world, I'd have kept this video to 7 minutes or 14 minutes, or tried to keep it under 20. But it is what it is, and hopefully going through some of those questions may have helped answer them. You've got the link to the advice strategies document below. Take your time to read through that, including the win percentage, the losing runs and betting banks and all of that kind of thing. But hopefully that makes sense. And with that said, I will shut up. I'll thank you for watching. I'm aware this has been a long video, but I'm also aware that I'm asking you to make an investment and I'm asking you to make a commitment. And if I'm going to do that, I should spend the time explaining everything. And hopefully, if you've any interest in joining, you've enjoyed watching that, and it will have encouraged some of you to take the plunge and take your risk-free 60-day money-back guaranteed trial. But if not, thanks for watching. You can click the Join Now button below this video, and I, yes, for one final time, will shut my gob and leave you to enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend, which will be arriving rattling along soon, no doubt. Good luck with any bets you may have. Some great racing this weekend from Sandown and Aintree. I'll be covering a few races on the free post and various other things, but yes, I will leave that there. So this is Josh saying thanks for watching, and until the next time, hopefully I'll see you on the inside of the Members Club soon. But until the next time, this is Josh saying bye for now.